primeros días sí se siente más, los dos primeros días, 2, 3 días, ya después ya se acostumbra y ya, está bien.
Highlighting the plight of farm workers. The situation is indeed dire, and I know from my state of California, I heard about the case of Mr. Asuncion Valdivia, who came from Mexico for a better life and took a job that few Americans wanted to do. Every day in the hot summer months, he picked grapes for 10 hours straight in 105-degree temperatures, and then one day he fell ill. He fell ill and could not stand up, and Giamaria Vineyards, rather than calling the ambulance, told his son to drive Mr. Asuncion home. On the way home, Mr. Asuncion died of a heat stroke, and his son had to watch his father die of a preventable heat stroke at the age of 53. And in fact, this is only one of many stories like this. There have been 23 reported deaths since 2001, and those are only the reported deaths.
The growing pace of economic globalization has created more migrant workers than ever before. Unemployment and increasing poverty have prompted many workers in developing countries to seek work elsewhere, while developed countries have increased their demand for labour. As a result, millions of workers and their families travel to countries other than their own to find work. Because many migrant workers are the sole income earners for their families, they are more willing to put up with poor working conditions and low wages, as their income is essential for family survival. It is estimated that there are 13 million migrant workers in the US. Research suggests that of these, 3 million work on farms supporting the $28 billion agricultural industry. There is a belief that without cheap migrant labour, America's agricultural industry will fail. This notion has led to an alarming race to the bottom, and as a result, the working conditions, wages, and well-being of migrant farmers has been ignored and exploited.
Life for farm workers hasn't changed much since the Grapes of Wrath. The conditions are still sub-poverty wages, terrible housing, shameful housing conditions, 10 to 14-hour days of work, very little protection. Farm workers have been specifically excluded
3 out of 5
from many of the
farm worker
benefits that other
families have
workers
incomes below the poverty line.
Farm
workers, even as they spend their waking hours picking food for others, can barely afford to eat.
The mechanism and the right to organize by law. They were excluded from that National Labor Relations Act in 1935. That was a very significant exclusion. And they've continued to be excluded from protection, legislative protection, that other workers have enjoyed for decades.
The EPA estimates that 300,000 farm workers are poisoned by pesticides each year. Further, farm workers suffer the highest rate of chemical-related illnesses of any occupational group. Research also suggests that the health status of migrant farm workers is at the same standard as most third-world nations, and that their life expectancy is nearly 30 years less than non-migrant workers. Although American farms receive huge government subsidies, they still continue to pay their migrant workers well below the minimum wage. Further, while the average farm worker in the US earns $7,500 per year, Archer Daniels Midland, the world leader in producing soy meal, corn, wheat, and cocoa, reaped $1.7 billion in profits in 2003. Its CEO, Alan G. Andrews, received a $2.9 million bonus. We assume migrant farm workers' low wages subsidizes lower food prices. However, research suggests that maintaining the current level of poverty among migrant farm workers only saves the average household $50 a year. Making unequal pay easy. Major structural changes in the agricultural system, including consolidation, farm labour contracting, government policies such as the North America Free Trade Agreement, and economic liberalisation, has created fierce competition among growers, who justify exploiting farm labourers to survive.
I like talking about people who don't have any power. And this seems like one of the least powerful people in the United States are migrant workers who come and do our work but don't have any rights as a result. And yet we still invite them to come here and at the same time ask them to leave. And that's an interesting contradiction to me.
What needs to be done? Fair and living wages, decent working and living conditions, and healthcare for all migrant farm workers is needed.
I believe that in this country, everyone deserves a fair wage for a fair day's work.
derive their wealth with predatory and selfish calculatedness from the misery, poverty and helplessness of the working poor are powerful but not invincible. Change can occur if individuals see that people's well-being and lives are more important than money, and that a fair paid and fair treated workforce will be more productive.